All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight to hear a little bit about our Into the Open Spaces class and upcoming trip. We're really grateful to have all of you here with us, and we'll try to save some time at the end to answer any questions. We thought we would start by first introducing ourselves as the teachers of the class, and then I'm going to run everybody through the course and try to give an overview of the class. And then we will talk about the packing list and answer questions that people have. So do feel free to raise your hand at the end or send us a note in the chat if you have questions, and we can certainly try to answer all of them. So there are 4 teachers of the course, myself, Julie Davis, Chris Sharp, and Shannon Skinner. So we thought we would maybe introduce ourselves and then tell you a little bit about our love for the national parks and maybe our excitement about this class. So Julie, do you want to start?
Sure, I'd love to. So my name is Julie Davis. I am in the regular year the chair of the math department, but right now I am just one of the 4 lucky teachers who gets to do this class. This is my 3rd year doing it. I think the national parks are perfect for an end of the year after a stressful year. It just like rejuvenates my soul. It's a great chance to see the parks through the eyes of the kids who haven't really seen, say, Grand Prismatic or, the Delicate Arch for the very first time. And it just, every time you see something like that and you see it through their eyes, it makes it as if it's your first time as well. So I'm really excited to be a part of this again. And I'll pass it on to Chris.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm Chris Sharp. So this is my first year teaching here at Hun. I also am a graduate of Hun, so I graduated in 2015. So I'm back here teaching. Also living on campus. So if you see some blurry figures behind me, I apologize. But yeah, when I was a student here, next term was not a thing, and so I'm very excited to be involved now, especially in this role. Definitely looking forward to our Open Spaces trip. I have actually never been to a national park, but I think that that's the beauty of this program. I'm no stranger to going on hikes and walks and things of that sort. So just definitely looking forward to just being as involved as I can and being in the enjoying the outdoor experience. So thank you. Shannon.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Skinner. I am usually in the science department, but very excited to be joining this trip. National park trips is actually something I've done with my family to try to give them a little bit of experience in different areas of the country. So I am actually new to the 5 we're going to. I've been to 9 others. So I was super excited when I was chosen to take this experience with your students. And I'm very much looking forward to, like Julie said, seeing it through their eyes as well as my own, and just get outside and play and explore and learn about all the different things offered in the parks.
Thanks, Shannon. So I'm Ryan Hughes, head of the upper school, also teach history. And this class was one of the really sort of foundational pieces of our next term program. When we planned next term, we realized how well the national parks lent themselves to these kinds of experiential education opportunities. And so very excited about being able to offer it again this year. It's been really transformative, I think, for the kids who have done it previously. And as Julie said, especially where it comes at the end of our year, it is incredibly rejuvenating, I think, for the kids to be able to be in these open spaces and really commune with the different aspects of the park, including the ecosystems and the outdoor recreation opportunities. And so we're really excited. I actually grew up with a national park right in my backyard. So I was sort of brought up in Acadia National Park up in Maine. And so I had a passion for national parks from a young age. My parents took me all over the country to see parks. And so I like to try to pass that on to your kids and hopefully inspire a passion about the parks and for the parks with them. So what we thought we would do tonight is just give you an overview of the class as well as the trip and then answer any questions that you have about it. So you can hopefully see my screen okay, which is basically our presentation about the parks. And we're going to be visiting 5 parks in our expedition. We're going to be visiting Grand Teton National Park, Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park, and a new park added to our list this year, Mesa Verde National Park. And of course, the sort of foundational park, the first park in the park system, but also the park we spend the most time at is at Yellowstone National Park. So the 5 parks offer us varied ecosystems, varied landscapes, varied recreational opportunities, lots of different histories and cultural differences between these parks. And so we think it's a really good mix of opportunities for the kids to be able to experience the full sort of park system. And obviously heading out west, it gives us the opportunity to really explore a lot of different landscapes and different types of parks. So we're very excited about what opportunity lies ahead for that. So the mission of the class basically is to use the parks as our classroom and really to have an interdisciplinary experience in history, conservation, biology, ecology and art, culture, Native American history. And we really focus at the start of the class on John Muir, who was a naturalist who really helps inspire the idea of national parks. And so we'll read some of John Muir's work. We'll kind of follow his ideas through the parks and how it helped to create the parks. And then we're going to immerse ourselves in the outdoor education experience. And hopefully we're going to be able to do a little service in the park as well. We have some really great things lined up, as I'll talk about here in a second. But you can see this picture. This is Yellowstone Falls. This is the upper falls at Yellowstone. We took this on one of our hikes there 2 years ago. And so we're hoping to see some similar beautiful views this year when we get to Yellowstone. So if you go on to the RadarNet page for this class, you can go to the resources, or you can also go to the syllabus button on that page, and it will take you to a full syllabus. I'm going to actually open up the syllabus right now so that you can see it and give you an overview, because the syllabus also includes the itinerary for the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you all so you can see that page. And just give me 1 second here. So you should be able to see the syllabus now, and you can read through the syllabus. It actually gives an overview of the whole class. It breaks down how the grade works for the class, because this is a graded opportunity for students. So this appears as a trimester credit on their transcript. And we've already started, they started working on their park project pitch today in class, and that will continue in our next classes. But there's a lot of different opportunities for them to earn points as they go through the course. We've given them the basic expectations, but we also have a detailed agenda and travel itinerary, which basically tells you every day, like where kids need to be and what like places they need to be. So our first 2 days of class, next Monday and Tuesday, are really the introductions to the parks, the history of the parks, preparation for the trip, working on their projects. And those times you can see are noted there. We then leave for the trip next Wednesday. So 1 week from today, we will actually be in Moab, Utah. 1 week from right now, we'll be in Utah. So we fly from Philadelphia to Salt Lake, and then we drive to Moab, Utah, which is really central to 3 of the parks we're going to visit. You should note that our flight is early. It's at 7:20 a.m. So we're going to be meeting in the Philadelphia airport at the Southwest Airlines check-in counter. Our flight leaves at 7:20, so we want all the kids there at 5 a.m. There will be a bus that will be going from Hunn down to the Philadelphia airport, but that bus will be leaving at 3:30 a.m. So if you want to drive your student to the airport, that's fine. You could bring them, just make sure that they're there by 5 a.m. To meet with us. I'm also going to send out a survey to the students in the class in case anybody wants to stay at the hotel at the airport the night before. If there's a group of students that want to do that, I will actually book some rooms for us to stay at the airport the night before so that we can be right there at the airport to head out. But there will be a bus from Hunn to the airport, and we also are welcoming anyone that wants to drive their kids to the airport. That's also fine. We then fly we then fly from Philadelphia to Salt Lake City. We are renting vans that will then drive down to Moab, Utah, and we spend the next 3 nights in Moab. So Our first night in Moab, the next day we'll get up and we're going down to Mesa Verde National Park. We've been able to book tickets for one of the tours of the balcony houses that are basically the cliff dwellings that you have to sort of book those tickets way in advance. So we're really excited that we were able to get those tickets. And then the next day we'll come back to Moab. We'll go to Canyonlands. We'll spend the entire day in Canyonlands National Park. And I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute. And then we'll spend the last day in Moab at Arches National Park. So we'll end up doing 3 parks in 3 days. So Mesa Verde, Canyonlands, and Arches, each consecutive days. And then we're going to drive on Saturday, May 27th. We'll drive up to Jackson, Wyoming, Jackson Hole, and we will stay at a beautiful place called the Snake River Cabins. I'll show you a picture of those cabins, and we'll spend all day Sunday hiking in Grand Teton National Park. Grand Teton is a beautiful park, and we'll do some great hikes there. And then we'll spend some time at Jenny Lake as well. And then that night we drive up to our lodge and we'll spend the rest of the trip in Yellowstone National Park. So we'll be in Yellowstone from Sunday night through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we will fly from Bozeman back to Philadelphia, arriving at approximately 7 p.m. on Thursday, June 1st, back in Philadelphia. We have some time in class on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday to prepare our Nexpo projects, which will be a museum visitor center of the National Park experience. And the kids will then present, and hopefully all of you will be able to come and see all the great work that the kids have done from our trip. So that gives you an overview of the itinerary. I'd really encourage you to take a look at that yourself, and make sure that if you have any questions, you can certainly ask or let us know. And then we'd be happy to sort of answer any questions that you have. I wanted to continue just walking through what we're going to be doing, showing you some pictures. So like I said, our first park is Mesa Verde. This is a picture of, I took this picture when I was at Mesa Verde last. So this is an example of what the cliff dwellings, they're thousands of years old. And the Native American culture and history that we'll be studying there, we'll be able to really take a deep dive into Native American history in this particular park. Our second park and third park will be Arches and Canyonlands. This is a picture of last year's group at Canyonlands National Park. Interestingly, we got a lot of great feedback from our students last year. We only had basically a day last year in Canyonlands and Arches, and the kids really loved it there and said we should spend more time. So that's why we sort of switched things up a little bit, and we're spending more time in Moab this year to give the kids a chance. But Canyonlands is a spectacular park. It's really underrated. It doesn't get a lot of attention in the Park Service, but it's as spectacular as the Grand Canyon when you see the beautiful canyon and how it's carved out over the decades and thousands of years. So it's pretty amazing place. We'll finish up our time in Moab at Arches, which is really a park that you can spend one day in Arches. If you follow anything about the national parks, you might know that Arches has instituted a timed entry system because the crowds are so great at Arches. But luckily, we have timed entry passes, so we're all set to go on our trip to Arches. We'll then head to Grand Teton National Park, and the Tetons are just incredible mountain range. And this is the first year's trip, the first next term class we ever took to Grand Teton. We had a fantastic time there, and the wildlife and the ecosystems are beautiful and amazing. When we're at Grand Teton, this is the place we'll be staying. It's called the Snake River Cabins. This is an example of one of the cabins. I think we have 13 cabins that we're renting from this place. It's a brand new place that we just found, and so we're excited to stay there. And we've partnered with the company that owns it. They're excited to have us. So we'll be staying there the night that we're in Jackson Hole. We'll go from there up to Yellowstone, which is obviously the most important park in our class trip because it offers so many different resources, the animals, the landscapes, the ecosystems, just the amazing vistas and hikes that we can do in Yellowstone are pretty amazing. So the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, which is where Yellowstone gets its name. You can see the yellow kind of walls of the canyon there. This is Yellowstone Lake. I actually took this picture when I was there with my family, and you can see that elk standing in the lake. He actually had run across the road and been hit by a car that was in front of us. And so he kind of ran and just sort of stood there in the lake, kind of stunned. But he was fine. He ended up kind of walking off after that. So but it's just an outstanding spot in the park. And obviously the animals of Yellowstone are one of the things that are the most iconic parts of that park. We'll see bison, we'll see grizzly bears, we'll see elk, we'll see, hopefully, if Mrs. Davis keeps the good luck charm going, we'll see moose again. And so we will, I think, have a great opportunity to see a lot of wildlife. This is a great time of year to go to Yellowstone because all of the animals have come out of, their winter grounds or their hibernation, and a lot of them have just had babies, so they're all looking for food. And so we should have a lot of good luck seeing a lot of animals while we're there. When we're in Yellowstone, we actually stay at this beautiful place called the North Yellowstone Lodge, which we found a few years ago. It's actually an old hotel that a family purchased and turned into sort of an Airbnb. And we rented the entire place just for our group. So you can see it here. It's on the shore of the Yellowstone River that flows through Gardner. So it's right on the river. It's a really beautiful spot. The rooms have all been converted. So there's several different like formations of rooms. There's sort of triples and there's quads. There's room for 5. Then there's separate rooms for the chaperones, but they're basically old hotel rooms that have been converted into this like youth hostel. But like I said, we rent the entire place ourselves. This is the common room, and you can see there's a kitchen. We cook our food there together, and so the kids will all be on different teams, and they'll be planning meals and helping us cook and helping us clean. We'll make our breakfast there. We'll make sandwiches for lunch to take into the park when we head into the park from the North Yellowstone Lodge. There's a big common space for us to eat dinner and hang out in the evenings and talk and like reflect on the day. There's a fire pit outside. We've had a lot of fun at that fire pit over the years. And so we're very excited to go back to North Yellowstone Lodge. And we've actually kind of partnered with the people who own this, and we've booked it out for years in advance. So we kind of have it for ourselves for the next like several years. So we're pretty excited about this space because it's just a really beautiful space. You might have known that last June, not long after we were there, Yellowstone suffered devastating floods that really wiped out a number of different roads in the park. And it actually closed this town where this lodge is. Gardner, Montana, was basically cut off from the rest of the park and from the rest of Montana, actually. And they rebuilt the roads over the last year. So there's a brand new road into the park from where our lodge is located. Luckily, the lodge didn't suffer any damage from those floods, but we're good to go there. I just want to give you an idea of, this is a map of Yellowstone National Park. And just to give you a little bit of perspective, Yellowstone National Park is bigger than the states of Connecticut and Rhode Island together combined. So it's an enormous park. And we're going to be exploring quite a bit of it over the course of our time there. And so we created sort of a next term Into the Open Spaces tour of the park. Will include everything from Mammoth Hot Springs, which is one of the most important formations of geothermal features in the park. We'll go to Old Faithful and the Lower Geyser Basin, where there are more geysers there than any place in the world, which are pretty amazing to see. We'll visit the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. We'll do one of our best hikes there into the canyon to see the falls. And we will spend some time at Yellowstone Lake, which is the largest alpine lake in the United States. We will drive through Hayden Valley, which is one of the most important areas for wildlife. And then, of course, we'll spend an entire day in one of, I think, America's greatest spaces, which is the Lamar Valley. The Lamar Valley is really where the wolves, the bison, the elk, it's really the feeding ground for all of those animals. And we'll spend an entire day there. We've actually partnered with Yellowstone Forever, which is a service organization, and they're going to do a wolf study with us for an entire day. So we're actually going to have the kids studying the wolves, like hopefully getting to see them and track them with the field glasses and also learn more about their ecosystems and do a hike there. So we're super excited about that. Another piece of the park experience are the gateway towns. Every national park has a gateway town. It's basically the town that has sort of formed around the entrance to these parks. And the economy of these towns is based on the visits to these parks. There are 2 gateway towns we'll visit as part of our Yellowstone experience. We'll visit West Yellowstone, which is probably the biggest gateway town for Yellowstone National Park. And then our lodge is actually in Gardner, Montana, which is also a gateway town. And just so you can see where our lodge is compared to the park, it's right there. I just made a little star on the map so you can see where our lodge is compared to the park. So one of the things that's important, and we've already told the kids this, there's a lot of driving on this trip. The West is not like New Jersey. So you drive for hours and hours and you don't see anything. And so we've tried to prepare the kids for the fact that, you know, this park is huge. When we leave our lodge in the morning, we're in the park all day. And then we come back to the lodge at night, most of the time after dark. So we try to take as much as we can out of each of the parks we visit. And that is our hope and our goal for the trip and for the kids on the trip. I do want to point out a couple of things. I did send an email to you and to your students about this form that needs to be completed. This is just a standard form that Yellowstone Forever uses for all of their programs. And in order for us to be able to do this program on the wolves, there's just a standard form that is basically a permission form. And if students are over 18, they can fill it out themselves. Students that are under 18, parents need to help with the completion of the form. So if you can take a look at the email that I sent you with that link, it would be helpful if you can go. This is what the main page looks like. There's a drop-down menu. And when you click on that drop-down menu, you'll have to type in HUN, like HUN, and then it will find our school and it will make sure that you have the forms. I've already sent a list of all of the students to Yellowstone Forever. So they should be able to do this. It only takes a couple of minutes to do it, but it would be important that we get that done before we head out on the trip. And then we also wanted to go over the packing list with you. I did send that in the email that I sent earlier this week with the link to this meeting tonight, but you can also find it under resources on our RadarNet page. I'm going to turn the things over to Mrs. Davis, and she's going to kind of walk us through the packing list, just so everyone knows what they need to bring on the trip. And then we'll open it up for questions. So just give me a second to load the screen here, and we will hopefully be able to see. All right, Julie, do you want to take it away?
Sure. First and foremost, we are flying out there, so we do have a weight limit on the bags. Last year, we had kids, it looked like they were packing to stay for a month. We're only going for about 10 days. And there are times where they're going to have to carry their bags. So, you know, definitely 50 pounds or lighter, preferably lighter. We do want them to bring a reusable water bottle. We will get water, and when we're in Yellowstone, obviously it's well water, so they can certainly use that as well. If we can limit the impact of plastic, that would be awesome. In addition to water bottles, if they have a CamelBak that can go on their back while hiking and have that and a water bottle, that's perfect. In terms of cell phones, we will have service occasionally, but not always. So if they have a way to recharge it, that's not necessarily a plug-in. That might be a good thing to have, but certainly bring their chargers. We did give them a journal, so that's one of the things we need them to bring. We also got them guidebooks, so that's also expected, but we don't want them to bring laptops. They can bring their iPads, their cell phones would probably get the job done as well, but please don't bring a laptop. For the flight, they're going to need IDs. School IDs do work, that it does not have to be a license. Things like sunglasses, hats, sunscreen, all of that's especially important. Even when we're in Yellowstone, it's going to be a little cooler. We are outside all day. And there's nothing worse than being sunburned on the first day and then having to deal with it for 10 days. We have, if you notice in the packing list, we have clothes for 12 days. It's not that we're planning on staying longer than we said. It's just that with hikes, they could get sweaty, they could get muddy, we could get rained on, we could get snowed on. So we want a variety of clothing. Athletic gear is fine. Wind wicking would be great. In terms of the weather, Moab is in like the mid to high 80s with a low in the 60s. But when we get up to Yellowstone, last year we hiked in snow. I just looked at the weather while Mr. Hughes was going through this, and it looks like it's going to be in the 60s, but as the sun goes down, it goes down into the 40s and maybe into the 30s. So we have a wide range of weather that we're going to encounter. So I highly recommend layers, like things that you can layer up, and throwing in a winter hat or gloves could actually, keep you warmer. Because last year, I know when we told the kids, make sure you bring warm weather, the first time we went out hiking and it was actually snowing, we had a couple of kids that were in shorts, which was really inappropriate, and they were very cold. So if you could just, double check that bag that your students pack to make sure they have something that's warm as well, that would be great. We also need them to have either heavy soled shoes or hiking boots. But if at this point, honestly, if they haven't bought hiking boots, I don't recommend it, because they won't have broken them in and they're just going to get blisters. So if they have heavy duty sneakers, not necessarily like Converse, like Chuck Taylors, but like actually like heavy duty sneakers, that would probably be fine. If they have broken in hiking boots, by all means, yes, bring those. The lodges that we have showers, but they're communal showers. So flip-flops for the shower would be recommended. And then another pair of shoes, so that if they get shoes wet or muddy, that they have something to change into. Obviously toiletries, any personal toiletries that they want to bring. They definitely need that. Bug spray, sunscreen, things like that. Highly recommended. The last thing on this item, I think, is really important, and all the kids didn't think of it last year, and we actually stopped and got them, which is a flashlight, especially for the Yellowstone Lodge, because the bathroom is outside, and so you have to go out of your room to get it. It's very dark. And then the binoculars. The few kids that had binoculars were like, golden, because you see something off in the distance and everyone wants to look at it. You can get a small pair of binoculars for not that much. You can get them at Dick's. You can get it obviously at REI, but they don't even have to be that expensive. But I really recommend some sort of binocular so that they can see the animals. And then we go to a lot of the visitor centers, and so getting some spending money so that they can get some souvenirs. I know last year getting stickers was a big thing, right? Like they're not expensive, but getting some sort of souvenir or a sweatshirt or a t-shirt, we recommend that as well. The meals mostly are accounted for, and I think this year as well, they will get money for those. So that's not necessarily what the money's for. It's more just for their discretionary, what they want to buy things. And I think that might be it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Julie. I think just to reiterate the weather situation, like I just remember last year, the shock of going from the sort of winter is ending in Yellowstone and summer is very much in full force in Moab. Like kids should definitely be aware of that change. So they should also bring bathing suits, because the early hotels we'll be staying at in Moab, there is a pool. So bathing suit would be recommended. And also they should bring their own like towel for the shower, just to have a towel. And then to have a towel for when we go swimming and things like that. I think that would be also important. In terms of the meals, whenever we're in a town, like when one of the gateway towns and we have like time for lunch or whatever, we have cash that we give the kids for their lunches, but we cover all the other meals essentially. So I think Julie's right, really just the spending money for them. And we'll also have extra cash if we need to give kids for some particular reason, the cash. We have all the medical forms. We've gone through those with our health office. So we all already know sort of dietary restrictions and needs and medicines. We always have EpiPens with us in our first aid kit. And one of us in the chaperone group will be carrying those in our pack all the time. One thing that would be a good idea, and we told the kids this, so they're going to have a suitcase with all their clothes and things. And then the backpack that they bring should double as the backpack they're going to hike with. So whatever backpack they bring on the plane as like their carry-on bag, that will also be their backpack on hikes. But if they wanted to tuck in a little like stowaway backpack or whatever, I use one of those pretty frequently. And they're just easy to fold up and stuff into another bag, but then you can have an extra little pack with you, because everyone will carry their own pack when we're hiking, and with water and their sandwich and their food and lunch. We will be hiking like 3 to 5 miles on average, like every day. So some days maybe less than others and some days more than others. Most of the hikes I think are very manageable. They're not like very steep or, high incline hikes, but the elevation, especially in Grand Teton and Yellowstone, the elevation is higher. So it takes a little acclimating to that. And obviously when we're hiking in Arches, Canyonlands, and Mesa Verde, it'll be hot. So it's sort of different climates, different, elevations, different experiences. But we all kind of spread out. The four of us will kind of spread out within the group and like have one person near the front, some folks in the middle, and then one person kind of as the sweeper, bringing people like up together. And we all stop periodically, and like, everyone catches up and we kind of reconvene the group, and then we'll start hiking again. So we're pretty experienced with this, and we've done it a number of times, and we always learn something new every year. We had a student on the trip last year who basically was like, oh, I can't hike, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And she was great and ended up loving it. And I think really got a lot out of the experience. So we're very excited about this whole experience, and we hope your kids are excited too. I think that gives you an overview of everything we needed to share. Now we can open it up for questions. So you can either just jump in with a question, or if you want to raise your hand or whatever, I can acknowledge you. But any questions that people have, we're happy to answer them. So I guess we did too good a job. Doesn't look like anybody has any questions.
I have one question. It's Julie Tedeschi, Jay's mom. I just looked for your email for that form. Did you send it in email, or is it in Canvas for the Yellowstone waiver?
Yeah, I did send it. I did send it as an email. Actually, Jay probably has it if you don't. So if you ask him for the link. I can also try to send it out again to all the parents. What I'll do is I'll check with Yellowstone Forever to see who hasn't filled it out yet. But I know Jay has the link for sure. So if you want to ask him, or any of you, if you haven't seen it, if you want to ask your kids for the link, but I can also find out who hasn't responded and then try to send an email directly to parents.
Hi, this is Lisa Olander. I was switching technology in the beginning, and I missed the part about getting to the Philadelphia airport.
Yep.
Is there a bus or van leaving from Hun?
Yeah, so there will be a bus from Hun. The bus will leave at 3:30 a.m. to get down to the airport by 4:30, 4:45. We want all the kids to be at the Southwest counter, which is in Terminal E at the Philadelphia airport. We want them to be there by 5 a.m. So there will be a bus from Hun. And then I'm also going to send out a survey for any students who want to stay at the Philadelphia airport hotel the night before we fly out. So if it's easier for parents to sort of bring their children down there, one of us, I'll probably stay with students there at the hotel and just sort of go from the hotel over to the airport in the morning to like avoid having to get up quite so early. But if there are folks that need to take the bus from Hun, it'll leave at 3:30 a.m. We will send out a sign-up sheet for that, so we know who's on the bus versus who's dropping off their kids versus who's going to sort of stay at the hotel at the airport. Any other questions? Yes, Kathleen? Sorry, I think you're muted there.
Yeah, my computer crashed. Sorry about that. But I got most of it, in terms of getting to the hotel. So, okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Kathleen, did you have a question? If you want to just type it in the chat, if you're having trouble like unmuting, I'd be happy to read the question. While we're waiting, if anybody else has any questions. Yes,
Hi,
Mr.
Ryan.
Kelly?
Yeah, I'm Mac's dad. If you go to the hotel the night before, I heard you say you're going to send out a survey. Is there going to be transportation from the Hun down to the hotel the night before? Because we're out on Long Island.
Yes, we would transport the kids down.
Okay. Do you know what hotel it is, or?
Yes, it's the DoubleTree, right at the Philadelphia airport.
Okay.
I'm back.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
Mine was for Mrs. Davis.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to know how many pictures you think you'll take on this trip.
I took a lot last year. I don't think it was like 700, but it was
Okay.
a lot. Yeah, most definitely. And I got a request from Marty Hoban today to take some for Hunt TV back while we're out and Hunt TV is going on at school.
Yeah.
So somebody in the-
sounds
Yeah.
phenomenal, this trip. Sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. We're excited. Somebody asked in the chat about safety measures during the trip. So we always have a first aid kit with us. We always help with the kids. Like next week in class, we'll actually be doing an orienteering sort of lesson about sort of compass and sort of what to do if you get separated from the group, things like that. But we are always together as a group. Like we don't really let the kids go off anywhere away from us. On the trails and on the hikes, we kind of give them an overview of the map of where we're going to be at all times, so they can kind of see where we will be. We'll also be using technology. The Park Service has a great app, which I would encourage. We will ask the kids to download it, but I'd encourage all of you to download it. It's really great, National Park Service app, and it not only has GPS maps in it, so it doesn't even require cell service. If you have the maps on your device, it will kind of tell you where you are, even if you don't have cell service. So it's a really good feature. We are always within like an hour's drive of a medical clinic, basically. So when we're in Canyonlands and Arches, both of those parks are very close to Moab, Utah, which has a full service hospital. The Mesa Verde, same thing. There's a town right next to Mesa Verde where there's a clinic there. And then in Yellowstone, Yellowstone National Park actually has its own medical services. There are 2 different locations in the park that have sort of a full med clinic. And we actually had to go there last year with one of our students who had a little bit of heat stroke. Everything worked out fine for her, but she wasn't hydrating appropriately and got a little overheated at Old Faithful. And so we were able to spend some time in the Yellowstone Medical Clinic, which was not something that we had on the itinerary for last year's trip. But there's also a full service hospital in Gardner, Montana, and another a clinic in West Yellowstone. So in addition, Jackson, Wyoming also has a full service hospital. So there's plenty of places. Also, the park rangers in the park all have satellite phones. And so we won't be far from park rangers. Most of the places on the hikes, there are usually rangers relatively close by. They all have satellite phones. When we do our hikes in Grand Teton and Yellowstone, we will have bear spray with us. So 2 different chaperones will have bear spray. I'm thinking I'm going to make Mrs. Davis and Miss Skinner carry the bear spray, but we'll see how that goes. But we'll train the kids on all the safety precautions. And we will take very good care of them on the trip.
And can I interrupt also? I know you said this earlier, but just when we do the hikes, the 4 adults are not together. We have like a leader, and then like a quarter of the way, another adult, another quarter of the way, another adult, another quarter of the way. And then like the last person hiking will be, honestly, it won't be Ryan because he hikes too fast, but it'll be me, Chris, or Shannon, and no child will be behind us. So between Ryan, who walks really fast, and one of the 3 of us, everyone is between the 2 of us, whoever's last and whoever's first. So no one will be left behind anywhere because an adult will always be last and first. And the trails that we take are all well marked. It's not like we're blazing new trails.
This is Jackie, Hannah's mom. I had a question. I know internet might be a little spotty, but is there any way that you guys update us throughout the trip? Just wonder, how things are going or what you guys are seeing or posting any pictures. Is there any form of communication? More than anything, because I'm jealous and I want to live vicariously through all of you because I want to be on the trip.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm sorry I forgot to mention, we'll be using the Remind app. which we will send a link out to all of you. Basically every day we will update you on things like how things are going, where we are, what we're doing. And there will be cell service when we are in Gardner, Montana, when we're in West Yellowstone, when we're in Jackson, when we're in Moab. So there'll be like periodic places for your kids to check in with you and let you know they're doing well. But we will also send a daily remind in case your kids decide not to reach out to you or keep you updated on what's happening. We will give you an update. We'll include some pictures as well, so you can kind of see how things are going. But we'll try to do that every day, just so you'll see sort of an update on how the trip is going. We'll also do that for the hotel, for the airports as well. So like, for example, when we're at the airport, kind of getting ready to board out in Bozeman, we'll let you know that we're sort of on our way home and everything is on time. Same thing when we're leaving to head out, we'll let you know when we're at the ticket counter at the Southwest counter and ready to meet everybody in case people are confused about where to go. So we will keep you updated on that app, so you'll all see what we're doing and how we're doing, and you'll hopefully see some photos of your kids as well. Any other questions tonight? Well, we hope your kids are excited. We are very excited to have this experience with them. I can just say every trip I've done with national parks, and especially the Yellowstone trip, has been really transformative. And the memories that I have of the time with those kids, and I know that the memories those kids have, I think are really meaningful and powerful. And when you get to live with the group for the number of days that we're going to get to live with them, I think it's going to be a really, I think, transformative experience for everybody. So we're excited about it. Don't hesitate to reach out and email if you have any questions about anything, about the trip or about any of the details, and happy to share those with you. And I will follow up about the forms for those families who have not filled out that permission form. I can let you know that. So thanks everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have any more questions.